join the meeting hall, which is set up in this Mural board. So I would want you, each one of you, to jump onto this meeting hall and let's settle down in this hall. So I've just shared the link to the Mural wall, and on either you cut paste. I don't know whether you are getting the hyperlink. You just need to cut paste this link on your browser, and you should be in a position to enter the meetup hall. So as you enter the meetup hall, you should be seeing an outline panel on the right side of the board, and it should show you the title on the first item. It will tell you meetup hall set in. So I will explain how you can get yourself seated into this hall that we have created for you. So just so that you can get familiarized with how you are going to do this. So first step is to get yourself familiarized with the outline panel. So you'll just, you can walk through the outline panel by yourself. You can see, I can see a lot of folks who have already joined. If you have any difficulty, please let me know. I think it's very simple. You should be able to get in. And what we will do is I will familiarize you with this Mural wall if you have not used it before. So there are a couple of things you can do. So I guess most of you have been able to get into this, and I'm going to walk you through the outline panel. So on the right side, you will see there is an outline panel, and if you press on the first one, and then using your keyboard down arrow key, you can go through each of the outline items on the board. So we'll be covering all these areas during this next hour. And the first thing is that what you see right now, I'm going to share my screen. So just for a few seconds so that we can see what I'm going to be doing, so that we can all get settled into the Mural hall. And do you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so just do a quick self-read on the first outline item, which is the meetup hall setting, and I'll demonstrate exactly what you got to do in order to be able to settle yourself. So the first thing that you would do is, there are around 70 seats in this hall, and what you see are the small boxes. Those are the seats. So I have selected the first seat on the top left, and if you see my cursor, there is a panel above my seat. My seat is that square that you see, and I'm going to zoom that seat so that I can just see that particular square myself. So you can do the same at your end and select any one of the seat that you find comfortable settling yourself. And in order to occupy that seat, you need to go and double click on the name here and type in your name. So let's get doing that. And the second step I would do is to put a favorite color that I like on that border to signify that this is my seat that I have occupied. So let us see how everyone is able to settle down in their seat. So I see Shaq has been able to do, a lot of folks have been able to settle down. And if you have anything that you feel, that you just go to the outline, the instructions are there. If you see, it's going step by step as to how you can settle down in the seat on this hall. So you see in the front of this hall, there is a stage, and then there are numbers. On the left, there is 1 to 4, and on the right, it is 5 to 8. So I guess once you have settled down, the next thing that you got to do is go back to the Zoom chat and cut and paste your introduction that you did on the Zoom on the seat that you have. So I'm going to do it for my part. You can see, you can watch me. So I'm just cutting and pasting right now. So I just pasted some details, and now I'm just adjusting. So how you adjust is this crosshair that is there. You adjust it and place it where you want it to be. Okay. So I can show you again. And if you just want to type it, just double click and it will open a sticky, and you can write there again if you wish. You can do either ways. But the idea is to get to understand how you can use stickies on this board, and also introduce yourself and this board and this whole hall and activity that we do at the end of the session will be shared to everyone. So fill this up. I'm going to give another 2 minutes. I'm going to set the timer for next 2 minutes to finish this activity. So I'm setting up the timer for next 2 minutes so that we can all finish this activity. Once we have finished this, we will get on with the next step of what we are here. So I believe in the next 2 minutes, everyone should feel settled. And it's okay if you are not able to do it right the first time. You can always use the undo button here on the top left. So if you undo whatever you did, you will undo it. So you can go ahead and do that. So we have about a minute left. So feel free to, if you are already finished settling in the hall, then just rest for another minute, and then we'll go to the next activity. So I see that we are seeing folks are pretty much getting there. I see, let me show some samples of folks who have put in their details. Let's see. So I see Casper, Lancer, PM. Okay, so you can also use your bottom right. You see this zoom panel. So what I'm doing is I'm zooming. So I see a lot of good experiments being happening as you settle. That's great to see. So you can zoom, and there is this ball you can also use to zoom in and zoom out. So you can do that as well. You can click on this mini zoom panel here on the bottom. It's called the mini map. So if you click on any part of that, it will take you to that particular piece, and then you can also further zoom what you want to do. So I think
Piyush, this is Jay. So so what Piyush is showing you is key to navigating Mural and being able to view. But we also have a couple of issues, and like I said, we're going to have those. This is live. This is a tool. It's a platform that we're doing. So one of the things is I want to make sure, does everyone have the link? Right now, people are asking. There's two people that are having a problem: Danny Brown and Smitha Sasran. Can't find the page. But unfortunately, unless you want to take time to Piyush to help them, you know, this is one of the things that unfortunately we have technical difficulties or stuff like this. It's hard to take time and solve it for specific individuals. But what do you want to do, Piyush? I've sent it again to them. Let me see if that works. Yeah, I'm okay. The Zoom was how to get back to the hall. So
How to get back to the hall is is that outline on the right-hand side. The number 1 area is the meetup hall. If you just click on that, it'll take you back to the meetup hall.
there you go. There's the answer. But the other person, Smith, I don't know how to solve your problem. I did send you the link again, which should take you right to the Mural instance. All right, Piyush, sorry. Go ahead.
Piyush, you're on mute.
Am I?
I unmuted him.
Okay, thanks. All right. So the next thing that we would do is to go to the next. If you go back to the outline, the first one we just did, we all settled into the hall. The next one is to take a good look at the meetup video wall in front of you. So what you see here is the meetup video wall. So you click on this number 2 and take a look at each of this. There are 8 faces on this. So what we are going to do is we are going to play a game, and this game is basically about how we are able to guess our neighbor who we are going to have volunteer artists draw, and then we are going to guess it. And these are the models that will be used in order for us to be able to get us going. And I'll give a good around not 30 seconds. Let me set the timer. So in the next 30 seconds, take a good look at this picture, and the next step would be is we'll have another chat burst on this picture, on this collage, and I will look forward to get 8 volunteers who are game to be the artists for the day. So we will have them draw these pictures, and then we'll see. The first 8 will get to be the volunteers. So we will do a Zoom chat burst. So how this is going to work is type the name you see of any model that you feel you wish to draw, and type it, but don't press the send button, and you need to send the name of the model to Jay. So Jay is, yeah, that's a good point, Miang. So I think since not everyone is comfortable with Mural, I've kept this on for a few minutes. I'll turn off the share for Mural, but I think for now, since I'm showing how to do a couple of steps, I've kept it on. So thanks for that suggestion. So what I'm going to,
you're not sharing.
yeah, I am not. Okay, I'm sorry. So let me share. Sorry. Okay. All right. So you should see the screen now. Sorry about that. So what we'll do is you need to send a private message to Jay, typing the name of the model you see on this video panel. So we have Jay, that is Jervey Johnson. There is Pi, you have Gopal, you have Kim, you have Ron, you have Rich, you have Jose, and you have Maria. So you just need the first name you need to type, and that first name you need to just type it and keep it ready to be sent to Jay. And when I say send it to Jay, so he knows who are the artists, and he will call out the names of the artists one by one. And then what those artists will do, I will get to that once Jay is able to start sharing. So 1, 2, and 3, send. So Jay, you should be getting the volunteers, volunteer artists. So we are looking for volunteer artists. Select the model you would like to draw and send the name to Jay, and send your name to become the volunteer artist. So
I am looking at the chat. It is, unfortunately, I've got to toggle back and forth between everyone and the private communique. So I'm not seeing, yeah, the persons in the screenshot. Yeah, pick one of the people that Piyush showed you.
okay.
Because you're going to have to pick that person and send me the name.
Okay. So are you able to see my screen right now? So if you see on this meetup video panel, or if you click number 2 on the outline, you can see it yourself on the Mural board. So if you go on the Mural board, outline number 2, you will see this video wall. And in there, you will see the names of the people you wish to draw. So we are looking for 8 artists.
Yeah, come on, people, volunteer.
So this is the game you usually play where you are working with your team, and you are looking to see how comfortable the team members are and how psychological safe the team members feel in the room. So this basically is a game that is played to, help people feel comfortable and psychologically safe. So feel free, feel safe. This is just basically a game we are playing, and there is no judgment on anyone. So
Frank said he'll do Rich. Ellen Gottensteiner say I'll do.
Jay. Sorry,
Oh.
Jay, don't reveal the name. You just need.
Oh,
you just.
sorry.
Okay.
This is like a retrospective. Mm-hmm.
We just need the name of the volunteers right now to be called out.
Sorry, I knew that. So Ellen Gottensteiner, Frank. Yeah, waiting. So that's 2. I need, a few more.
Okay, come on. Let's be sport.
Yeah. So if this sounds familiar, just think about doing a retrospective and having the very sensitive introvert people participating, right? So and Casper Mueller will do one.
Okay, so I think as the volunteers have signed up, I think you can call out, and you can come back to the meetup hall. And if you see on the stage, there are numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So select the name, any number that you would like to put yourself, and write your first name as to who you are volunteering, your name as a volunteer artist. So all the 8 volunteer artists will write their name on it, and then you can just type your name on the sticky. Just go click on the sticky and type your name, so it will be visible. So, and what you got to do is you can zoom it. So I'm zooming out for Frank just to show you how it is done. So this way you can zoom out, so that you zoom in, so you can have it in a more magnified way. Yes, Frank, great. Casper, you did great.
And
so
Lancer's going to do it.
Alan, yes, that's great. Alan, wonderful. So we need a few more volunteers. Feel free to go and put your name. Maria, awesome. Maria is the volunteer. Very good. So we got 5 volunteers so far. Any more volunteers? Okay. So last, I'm going to say going. Oh, we got one more. Very good. So we have 6 volunteers. So any more volunteers before we start on this game? All right. So we have Frank, Casper, Alan, Lancer, Maria. Who else? Okay. So we have here 6 volunteer artists. So let's give them a big hand by giving a reaction from our Zoom board. Give them a big hand using the reaction board. Yay, that's it. Cool. Awesome. All right, cool. So now let's go back to the Mural board, and we go to the number 3 on the Mural outline. So you go to the number 4. Okay. So now what happens is the volunteer artists will draw the person they have chosen and indicated to Jay. So Jay knows exactly each volunteer who's going to be drawing who, but nobody else in the room knows what is that particular model that volunteer artist is going to draw. And it is our job to guess, observe and guess as to who that artist is. Okay. So now, yes, I'll just show you how to put the drawing. So now I'll just show you one sample so that you can do each one of you can do for yourself. So let me take you to the artist 1. So if you click on this 6 to 13, there are 8 artists you see here. So I see. Okay, so the artists don't have to put their name on the title. So please remove your name from the title and just keep it as a question mark. That is what everyone in the room has to guess that who that artist is. So remove the name from the artist portrait panel. So right now we'll keep it blank. So if just to show you, we don't need this. You can just keep it, remove this names. So we don't need the names. We need to guess those names. Okay. So let's not write the names right now. So if you have written it already, doesn't matter. Just remove it. Mystery. Yes, that's correct. It has to be a mystery. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to show exactly what we are going to do in this. Okay, so let's say I am one of the volunteer artists and I have chosen this square, which I've chosen artist 1 as my square. Okay, so now as an artist of square 1, what I'll do is I select this pencil. Okay, and using this pencil, and I'll select what thickness I need, and I'll select the color that I want to use to draw, and then I will start drawing the face of that person. Okay, so I draw that face like this. Okay, I'm just showing. So you need to draw whatever way you can. I'm just giving you an example, and then once you are done with the drawing, you see on the right there is a done drawing button. You just need to press that, and that's all. This is the first step that you got to do. Okay, so let's do that first step and see how we do on it. So I'm going to remove that drawing. So now feel free to I'm going to put a timer of 2 minutes for the artist to be able to, so go and select your square where you would like to do it. In the meanwhile, I'm going to set the timer of 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, you need to make the drawing. Don't use stickies right now, please. Don't use stickies. Keep the stickies out of the drawing area. Remove the stickies out of the drawing area. The timer starts now. So let's see in 2 minutes how the mystery artists are able to do the drawing. Let's give them 2 minutes. So you can watch the artist at action here at the same time.
So, Piyush, do you see some of the questions in the chat room, like how to select the pencil? And then I think there was a question there is I close the outline info, how do I get back?
Okay, so if you want to go back to the outline on the top right, you will see a notepad icon. If you click on it, it will open up again for you. And for the folks who want to select the pencil, when you select the draw button on the left, it will on the top, it will show you the pencils on the top. And then you can select the thickness, and then you can select the drop to select your palette, color palette. Okay, I hope this helps you. Okay, so we are about 10 seconds away from finishing our drawing. All right, so time's up. So let's stop at our drawing. I think I see a lot of creative stuff. That's great. It's really nice to see a lot of creative stuff happening. So now the next step is we are going to get into our guessing round. So there are 3 rounds to this. In the first round, what we will do now, every one of us are going to participate in this round. So in this round, in the round 1, we are going to do picking up a sticky and putting the name of any one of the model that you feel that particular picture resembles. Okay, so for example, if I go to artist, say I go to artist 2, and I'm going to select artist 2. Okay, and let's say I like this. I feel this seems to be like say Ron. So I'm just going to put a name here. Okay, and I'm going to just zoom it so everyone can see the name. Okay, so what we need to do is go and name any of the 3 artists. So don't go beyond naming 3 artists. Every individual gets to name any 3 artists, any 3 models. I'm sorry, my question, I framed it wrongly. So you need to identify who the model is. That's the first round. Okay. So we need to identify the model and put the sticky on the board near the drawing. So you can just drag and drop the sticky and put the name, just like how I'm doing here right now, right? So you like how you drag and drop with your mouse. So you just select the sticky, drag and drop, and put the name on that sticky. So every individual gets 3 models to name. So we will give 2 minutes for this, for everyone to put their 3 stickies on the models. So we are guessing the model. The step is about guessing the model. So let's go about guessing the model. And if you find a name is already there, don't repeat the name, because we just need unique names on that portrait in the drawing area. We don't want duplicate model names, because the next step is going to be of dot voting. So you'll get a chance to give your vote to the name if you feel that's the name you feel as well. All right. So round 2 will be about dot voting, but the first the first round is to identifying, selecting, going and giving your opinion on who the model is. So we have another minute for us to get us completed. Okay, so a minute left. So let's see how we are doing with all the drawings. Is everyone
Strong.
okay? 3 to 5. So if you find the name is already there, don't put another sticky to it, okay? And if you want to zoom the picture, you can do that as well. So let's say you want to zoom, say, picture, a particular picture, then you can do that. And then you can further zoom it going to that mini map, and you can zoom it further this way. Okay. So feel free to do that. All right, so we are done with our first round, and now we are going to do the second round. So if you are reading the second round, you will see we are going to do the dot voting. So now I'm going to start the dot voting session. So what you got to do is you will get, each one of you will get 5 votes, and you can go and select any of the sticky that anyone has put a name to the model, and you can give a vote to that. So that will tell us what is the general feel that everyone feels about that particular drawing that that model resembles. Okay, so I'm going to start the dot voting, and this will be for a minute. I'm going to give a minute for this. So I'm going to start the timer. It's going to be a minute. And the timer starts now, and you should be able to do the dot voting to the sticky names of the models that people have guessed so far.
So Pi, can you share the models in Zoom?
Models.
So we can look at the
yes.
we can look at the
Yeah,
models
yeah,
against the
sure,
drawing?
sure. I can. You mean that actual models, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here
There we
you
go.
go.
And all you got to do is click on the sticky, and it'll automatically register the vote.
Yes. So your dot voting in this is very simple. You just click on that sticky and it will add your vote to it. So you have total 5 votes, dot votes that you can give, and that will help you to get your votes in. So I'm seeing here people are still voting, and your time's up. I guess you need some more time. I'll give another minute so that everyone can finish voting.
Yeah.
So
Hurry up, the sprint's almost over.
yeah. All right, so another minute and we will be good to go. So let's 30 seconds and I will end the voting session. All right, so let's see what we get. Okay, so I'm ending the voting session. I believe everyone got enough opportunity to do that. And I'm going to open up artist by artist and see how we are doing. So, okay, this drawing looks like everyone has voted for Ron on this. Okay. The next one seems to be Maria. So there seems to be, okay, 4. All right, this one seems to be Jay. Okay. Oh, it's Pi. It's Pi. Okay.
I'm offended.
Okay. The next one is again Maria. Okay, let's see. So Jay, can you do one thing? Can you take the grab, because the votes will go away once I stop the share. So every picture, can you take a grab so that we can use it later? Okay, don't worry. I'm grabbing it at my end. That's fine. If you can do it, that's fine. Otherwise, we are good. So yeah, I'm going to grab this as well.
Thank you. I got too many things up, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let's see next one. Yep, I'm grabbing this, what it looks like, and I'm grabbing this, what it looks like. Okay, and this one seems to be Augusto. Okay, that's where maximum votes seems to be to Augusto. Okay. So I guess we completed our first round and the second round. So we will continue with the third round. So now in the third round, the volunteer artist will go to the top panel and put the name of the artist and their own name on that. So if, as you see here in the question mark here, like I'm just giving you a sample. So I would say Piyush and model name, say Ron. Okay. So I want each of the artists to go to their drawing and put their name and the model that they drew.
It's the reveal.
So first put your name, and the next one, what you will do is put the name of the model that you drew. Looks like Maria is very popular. A lot of folks have drawn Maria.
Where are my glasses?
All right. So let's see what we get here. So take a good look. So Maria has drawn Ron. Okay. So Ron, this is how you look. Okay. Now the second one is Lancer again. It's Maria. Okay, that's cool. Now let's see the next one. Okay, this is Frank and model is Rich. Okay. Nobody could guess that. That was tough. Okay. All right. So let's see the next artist. Okay, this is Ellen who's drawn Maria. I think this was spot on. Okay. Casper, okay, was not able to draw Ron. That's fine. But you did give it a try. So really a great appreciation for your Casper, for your courage and braveness to become a volunteer. So that's cool. And I don't see who's the volunteer artist and who is the model here. Can you put your name on this drawing? Okay, so I think before I think we saw how everyone how vulnerable we are, right? We always feel that we are perfect and we know everything, but this is actually how you should feel. You should feel this is how psychological safe you should feel in amidst the team members. And this was an experience, an experiment to get that feeling that how comfortable you are to show yourself. It does not require that you are an expert. It does not require that you know everything, right? So that's basically the whole idea of this game. And the next voting I would like to do is to select the title and give the voting for who you feel was the best artist. So I will give just one vote you should be giving to one artist that you felt was the best artist. So let's see what we get. Who is the best artist? 1 minute. Just click on the title of where the artist name is there, and we want the vote at that level so we can see what you feel about who is the best artist. Okay, last 20 seconds. Okay, last 5 seconds. All right, I'm ending the voting and let's see who's found to be the best artist. So I think the best artist goes to Ellen. Congratulations, Ellen. Cool, cool, cool. This is awesome. All right, so we got the best artist. And now let's see who made everyone laugh the most. All right, so let's find the most, the artist who made everyone laugh the most. So let's do the dot voting on that, okay? Which drawing made you laugh the most? So which artist made you laugh the most? Okay, so let's find that out. Again, one vote each, and let's see what we get. Which artist made you laugh the most? All right, time starts. So you have 30 seconds more left. I'm just going to start the timer. Okay, so we have a lot of votes that have come in. Let's see, last 1 second left. Okay, so I'm ending the voting and let's see what we get. Who's the winner? So the Maria, you made everyone laugh the most. Congratulations. Awesome.
So now prize for the best model goes to Ron.
Okay, cool. So I think this basically was the game, and I hope you enjoyed playing the game. And I think the next thing I would like to quickly share here is the different, this was one of the experiment of how you can, do the icebreaker and do some games by which you can inculcate some principles within the team and as you do it. And I would like to share some other examples of how this real-time high fidelity interaction is made enable using the Mural board. So some of the examples which I can share here is like, this was like a World Cafe session that we did 2 days back, where we were doing a brainstorming session across a group of folks where we huddled into different breakout and then we harvested the ideas, and this is what you see, and it was very, very effective. Then this is another example that you see here is like when you're doing training, right? So like this is from one of the trainings that I did, where we were showcasing how the real PI planning simulation is done, and then how this is used with the help of tools like which enables you to actually plan the room and how the work, how the people movement is managed across. So this is another tool that was used to help to do that. So along with Sococo, Mural, PollEverywhere, we'll do a PollEverywhere session after this to get a quick feel of what are they. And then the other samples I can show you is like you can do like a little a workshop where you want the team to understand the roles responsibility, like you can do this like drag drop kind of a thing. And then I have used this for also standing up release train. So you do this whole workshop where you can do all this different activities. You can do working agreements, definition of done, establishing the leaders' roles, etc., explaining how to do the sizing, etc. So that has been used. And then I also use it every weekend with my family. I play bingo using Mural. So you can use it in so many different ways, and it's all your imagination of how you want to do it. Your background that you see me is of the same Sococo which I was just sharing. So that's pretty much what this tool offers. And then there are you can actually integrate this with Mural. So if you have let's say you finished your planning, or let's say you want to put all this as your continuous improvement items in your backlog, Mural provides that integration plugin to Jira. So you don't have to type this again in Jira. It can directly get integrated with Jira. So that's another very powerful. So you don't have to waste time doing, getting into the actual activity. So with this, I have concluded this session, and I would like to just do one PollEverywhere questionnaire where I need you to give me the response to. So I would like to hear from you how you feel about your experience of this whole icebreaker and the whole activity that we just did. So you can, so Jay, if you can just paste this web link or the text message link on the top on the chat, so folks can respond to this in just one word as to what they feel, express in word, what do you feel about this icebreaker game experience?
So you see what's involved in doing this and setting up collaboration tools and so forth. So, oh, that's cool. It'd be cool if I could type. It's, it's involved, but it's a very important that we keep, especially today, we keep the human contact and icebreakers and doing stuff that involves the team and the community and being human, right? It's more than just doing, product roadmaps and doing, there's a lot of templates that you can use in Miro to do work, right? But sometimes it's really valuable to take a step back and do something human and get people involved to do something really cool.
Okay, so let me quick share my screen. And we're gonna switch tools from Mural to Miro. And we're going to talk about leveraging virtual whiteboards and polling for better estimating and predictability and retrospectives. So a little bit by way of introduction of me, and then a little bit by way of introduction of what we're going to do. So 8 years ago, after being a manager, after being a programmer, and then a manager, and then a director of engineering and a VP of engineering, I started consulting in transforming chaos to clarity. I became a fire jumper to make software development hum. So I've been training executives and teams in making their software development more effectively agile and taking interim VP engineering roles. I wrote one of the very few books on managing software people and teams. There's a ton of books on managing projects, almost none on managing the people who actually deliver the projects. And I am co-author of the Study of Product Team Performance, where we ask people all over the world to tell us first, is their team high performance or low performance or something in between? And then we ask them about practices, and we correlate between those practices that correlate with high performance teams and those practices that correlate with low performance teams. And we've just released our 6th study on May 1st. So I want to know a little bit about you. And so Jay, if you could paste into the chat an instruction.
I hope that's the right one.
And I haven't seen it yet.
All right. Well,
Right. Yep, the reactions button. So the reactions button. So next 2 questions, I want you to use the reactions button at the bottom of the screen. So and we'll scroll through and see how many people actually answer yes. So the first question is, do you deliver consistently predictable estimates? So raise your hand if you deliver consistently predictable estimates on your team. I see 1 hand, I see 2, I see 3.
they're liars.
So you're not willing to go for even 3 hands on this one, AJ. So so let me ask the second question. You get asked for estimates anyway. How many hands do we get for being asked for estimates? We get a lot of hands being asked for estimates. So my experience is that despite the fact that we very seldom deliver predictable estimates, I've almost never been in a company where people didn't want to know when's it going to be done. And why is that? So we're going to talk about we're going to continue talking about the topic of effective remote agile, and we're going to talk about card walls and burn up charts. We're going to talk about estimating and predictability, and we're going to talk about retrospectives over the course of the coming 50 minutes. So as I said, I've been training teams in Agile for about 11 years. And this is a typical picture of me training a team in Agile. So I've got some slides up. Over my shoulder, I've done a go round of everybody in the room, asking them what they're looking for out of this thing. Further, all the way to the right is a burnout chart. And all the way to the left is a card wall. And the card wall, you can see that we're partway through the class. There's a bunch of tickets, a bunch of stories learning stories under the done column. There's an epic and a story under the in progress column. WIP equals 1, and as you can see, we've got a backlog. This is a 2-day training. So this is what it looks like when you're in person. Here's a physical burn-up chart. This is actually one of the more unusual burn-up charts, and that line is straighter than almost any other burn-up chart I've ever done, probably. And here's a typical card wall. You know, we start with intros and class basics and Agile 101 and Agile tenets and Agile disciplines, and move into Scrum 101 and move through the opportunities that we've got for what are the topics that we need to talk about that are most important to this class. So the challenge is, how do we do that? How do we do that in the real world? And so I'm going to share with you what we do in what it looks like in Miro. Oops, sorry. And I need to stop sharing and I need to start sharing. And I'll switch to not what I was looking for. There's a bug in Zoom that brings up the wrong slide sometimes.
Those damn software engineers.
Yeah, it's tricky. So I do this first and then come back to Zoom. See if I can get the right one this time. There we go. So here's a Miro board, and what I want you to see is that there's so here we've got a card wall, we've got a burn-up chart, we've got a place that we can take notes as we do a go-around for training, and I've added an instruction sheet for this. Now, much like there's an outline on the right side of Mural, there's an outline on the left side of Miro. Jay, did you put a few instructions into the bottom of chat?
I think is this the right one?
Sorry, I'm dealing with 2 monitors, which is even more tricky. All right, so what I want to show you is that in the lower left-hand corner, if you can see my mouse, is a frames button, and that frames button. So this is a horizontal toolbar, and the leftmost item in that toolbar is frames, and it brings up basically a table of contents. So number 1 is home, is where we are. I built a bunch of instructions in for using Miro, which you will not need very many of. Here's my task board, and this is my task board that was very much like the 2-day task board that we saw. In fact, what Piyush was doing in the first hour was doing intros, and we're done with intros. I'm basically doing something along the lines of class basics. What I would normally do next is Agile 101, but we're going to talk about schedule predictability as the next thing in our sprint backlog. And each of those stories has story points, and I do the arbitrary thing of having an hour's worth of using sprints that are an hour long. So I can update at the end of an hour, we can update the burn-up chart with how many points we basically burned in the course of an hour. So we end up getting that burn-up chart very much like the one that we saw. So let me also note that similar to Mural, in the lower right-hand corner is an area that you can zoom with. So you can zoom in, you can zoom back out again with these controls. And there's a vertical bar here that's got all the different things you can do with your cursor. And basically you either get a pointer cursor or a hand cursor, and the hand cursor is useful for moving things around. The pointer cursor is for grabbing things within the canvas and moving them around. So I'm going to stop sharing that and go back to slides. Having shown you what that looked like. So again, very much like we've got here, where we've got a burn-up chart that we can build, a card wall that we can use. Now, I'm going to share a little bit of context that I use that's important to me. Number one, the point of Agile is to delight customers.
What?
Thank you, Jay. Secondly, software development is a team sport. I way too often walk into teams that are really a group of individuals that are reporting to the same stand-up. Third, the point is not to do Agile. I am not an Agile purist. I'm not a Scrum purist. I'm not a Kanban purist. I'm not an XP purist. The point's not to do Agile. The point is to be effective. Agile provides us insights. And finally, and I love this one of the 12 principles in the Agile Manifesto, simplicity. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. And so the fewest meetings that we can do, the least amount of work that we can do, maximizing the amount of waste that we don't waste is in fact what I'm looking for. So given that, why do we estimate? Well, we estimate because we've always got executives who ask us, but why do they ask us? And they're looking for some kind of predictability typically. So it might be sales, it might be marketing, it might be the board of directors, it might be the CEO who's being leaned on by the board, it might be our CFO who's looking to understand when there's going to be revenue, but it basically enables planning across the whole organization. So there's a reason we get asked for estimates, even though we don't deliver very good ones too much of the time. Certainly didn't in our waterfall days. The second one is that by estimating every story, we give insight to our product owners of the eye of ROI. So that instead of putting teleportation at the top of the backlog, which happens to be my favorite story and has the highest value in my mind, because I could easily teleport back and forth between San Francisco and Seattle. I would love to be able to do that. But no, when I ask developers how long it will take to develop teleportation, they always tell me it will take an infinite amount of time. And my highest value divided by infinity causes, instead of ordering the backlog by value, we order by ROI, and it falls from the top of the backlog to the bottom of the backlog. And third, it builds stakeholder confidence in our team, in our teams. And we want that stakeholder confidence because it allows us to work in freedom. It allows our teams to work in freedom without being impeded and interrupted by executives, stakeholders, and customers. So the problems with estimating are that in the and this is a textbook description, in the software field, we're expected to accurately estimate the time it will do a job that requires creative thought, that usually requires the team members to learn new concepts, and that pushes team members to provide undivided attention for long periods of time. And not only that, but we're always building something new. If we weren't building something new, we ought to have bought it. Build versus buy. If it's not new, buy it. Then, given it's new, our customers often don't know what they want. Anybody ever delivered software and our customer said, yeah, I know that's what I asked for, but that's not what I want? It happens all the time, and it's because it's difficult to describe what we want when we've never seen it before. And users' understanding of what they want evolves as they see it. So what did the need to estimate lead us to do in our waterfall days? And I see this happening way too often in agile days as well, which is some agile version of work task breakdowns or work breakdown structures. Taking the whole project and dividing it down into stories, or if we're already at stories, taking the stories and dividing them down into every single task that we could have to do that, putting time against those, adding up the time for all the stories, and now we can walk out of a dark room that we just spent days in doing this with an estimate that is wrong. It was inevitably wrong. So we're going to do an exercise. To do the exercise, we're actually going to use Google Docs. And the exercise is, I want to eat some fruit. Now, it turns out that the fruit is the R of ROI, or the bang for the buck. What's the cost of eating fruit? Well, the cost of eating fruit is the overhead. The overhead is the combined time to prepare a serving of fruit and the time to clean up after eating it. And the fruit I want to eat is a pineapple. So we have to figure out what's the cost of doing this? What's the estimate for preparing a serving of pineapple and cleaning up after eating that pineapple? So we're going to do a work breakdown structure. We're going to ID all the tasks to prep and clean up. And Jay, I am counting on you to have made me the host so that I can do breakout rooms here.
Oh, okay. Well, let me do that. So once I give you host abilities, I will have no power. You will have all the power until you give it back to me.
All right.
All right. So you're the host.
All right. So theoretically, I'm the host, but I still don't see breakout rooms in here.
Hey.
There they are.
Oh, good. Thank goodness.
Breakout rooms. So we're going to break out into 4 rooms. And when you go to your breakout room, so there's going to be 5 to 6 of you in each room. When you go to your breakout room, Jay, would you paste that into the chat? The Google Doc.
I think I did.
Okay. Yep. So you're going to grab that Google Doc. You're going to paste it somewhere where you're going to paste it into a new browser window, and that's going to bring up the Google Doc. You're going to get the Google Doc, the instructions. It's got 4 tabs along the bottom. As you go into the breakout room, notice which breakout group you're in and grab the same numbers, the same tab as your breakout group. So I'm going to send you into breakout rooms now.
Really?
That's the first time I've experienced the breakout room.
Same here.
Jay, you're muted.
Ron, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. I was going to say the breakouts can be an interesting experience, but thanks to Ron, we had a good experience.
So am I still sharing my screen, or do I need to reshare it?
Reshare.
Okay. Okay, so do we have everybody back? I think we do. So how was that?
Went really well.
Fun.
Uh-huh. So report out, group 1, how many minutes?
Gopal, I forgot.
I'm looking at group
12 minutes.
I'm looking at group 1 and it says 13.8 minutes.
There you go.
Actually, I'm looking at group 2, which says 7 minutes. Group 3 is going to take 22 minutes. And group 4 is going to take 319 seconds.
5 minutes and a half.
5 minutes and a half. Okay, so the short.
How did you get
Sorry.
20 for group 3, Ron? How'd you get 22 minutes?
Oh, sorry. That's what it says. Total time to prepare clean up pineapple is 22.
Okay, that's because I put in the sum down there. Now we got rid of it. It was really 11.
Oh, it's
I
really
didn't-
11.
I already
Okay.
had the sum built.
All right, so it's 11. So we've got 11, 5.5, 7, and 13.8. So a little bit of discrepancy there in preparing and cleaning up after doing pineapple. That's always been the problem with trying to do this kind of estimating. So let me move along. So I like this quote from John von Neumann, a physicist, who said, "There's no sense in being precise when you don't even know what you're talking about." And clearly, we don't even know what we're talking about when we're preparing pineapple. So God knows what we know, how precise we can be, and what we know what we're talking about when we're talking about software. And it turns out that we're a catering company, and we've actually got 12 fruit to prepare. And I give you 8 minutes to figure out a pineapple, but 8 minutes times 12 fruit is going to take a long time. And remember my context where I said I want to maximize the amount of work not done. So I want to do all of these in 8 minutes, but let me get to that in a second by saying, first of all, we're going to use an entire backlog of stories. So we want somewhere between 3 and 6 months worth of stories. Now that could be a project, that could be it could be a product, it could be it could be a release, it could be a couple of quarters worth of OKRs, but we want a whole backlog of stories. Now, interestingly, we just studied this in the study of product team performance, and we asked teams all over the world, so how many? What's your backlog look like? Do you have a whole backlog of stories? Do you have 3 to 6 months worth of stories, or do you have? Are you limited to less than a quarter, or are you limited to only a couple, or are you limited to, or are your product managers struggling to just get stories in front of you by the time you walk into the planning meeting? And what we discovered when we correlated was that those teams that had 3 to 6 months worth of stories in their backlog correlated with the highest performance teams. So interestingly, there are multiple reasons for having an entire backlog of stories, but we want to relatively size an entire backlog of stories, and we want to use the entire team to do this. Now, Jay,
I pasted it.
thank you. So I want a short answer in chat, and we're going to do this chat storm like what Piyush did earlier. I want you to type in to I want you to type into the chat, but not press return, why it is that we want the entire team in the room. So first of all, I'm going to give you the context that we're going to have the entire team in the room for less than half a day. So this is not like our waterfall days when we walked into dark rooms for days at a time figuring out work breakdown structures. We are going to use the entire team, but for less than half a day. So why do we want it's still an expensive meeting though. So why do we want the whole team there? So write your answer. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to write your answer, and then I'll tell you to press return.
Yeah, and I apologize. Everyone look for the second thing I just entered, not the first one. I'm ahead of myself. So look for the second one, short answer in chat.
One at the bottom of the chat. Why do we want to involve every developer, every tester, every person who's part of the product team? Give you 15 more seconds. Okay, everyone press return. Okay, and so let's see what we've got here. To be able to get a group average. Well, to get the whole group involved, yes. To capture as much requirements or user stories. So we've hopefully got all the requirements or user stories when we started. To be able to get to the relative job size, yes. not enough expert minds to give input without having everybody in the room. And that's really true. What we're really looking for is everybody on our team to be a leader. That psychological safety thing that Piyush was talking about, with the power of a team, each perspective adding ideas that need to be considered, shared ownership. Everybody's needed for all their skill sets because we've got all these skill sets in the room. The team as a whole prepares the fruit, that's right. And to learn about the work, to ask questions from knowledgeable people and learn. All of those things are absolutely true. And so I really want to call that out. And if we kept going, we would probably come up with some more. I'll give you one example where we might have Sue in the room who says, you know, nobody asked me this during interviews and I've only been here for 2 weeks, but that story I've written at my previous company, I wrote it 5 times. I could write that story in my sleep. Meanwhile, Bob says, well, yeah, that's great that you can write a perfect story, but there's so much technical debt where we're going to plug that into that it's going to be very expensive. We've got that conversation going on in the room, and we've got newbies who bring great skill, and we've got oldies who've got great understanding of where the technical debt lies. So we're looking for all of those things. Now, we always size stories relative to other stories. So some of you may have read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink. Others of you may have read, I think it's Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow, and I forget who wrote that. But both of them talk about the fact that we've got 2 brains. Basically, all of us, each human being has 2 brains, one of which in the blink of an eye knows stuff, and the other of which analyzes and analyzes and analyzes and analyzes and analyzes. This is our programmer brain, and analyzes until we know everything about it. We've talked ourselves out of what we knew in the blink of an eye. So I'm gonna use my favorite story, teleportation, and I want all of us to teleport to the Berkeley Hills because the Berkeley Hills have one thing San Francisco doesn't have. Anybody know what that is?
The view of San Francisco.
A view of San Francisco. That's right. So here we are in the Berkeley Hills, and we're looking across at San Francisco. And I'm going to point out to you the 2 tallest buildings because we're building all these buildings in San Francisco. I'm going to point out the 2 tallest buildings, and I'm going to ask you, how tall are those 2 buildings? Now you're probably going to do what I would probably do, which was start counting the windows as a way to get to the number of stories in that building, in each of those buildings. One of the problems with that is that sometimes in some buildings, the height of each story changes as the building goes up. Another problem is that the builders didn't realize we were going to do this exercise, so they didn't build them on the Berkeley Hills side of San Francisco. They built them in the middle of San Francisco, and so their buildings in the way. And so we have to look at all the windows on those buildings, and we have to impute the story size of that into it. So we spend a bunch of time, and we finally come up with some number for how tall those 2 buildings are. Now that's your analytical brain. Your blink brain, on the other hand, if I tell you to look at those 2 buildings and I ask you which one of those is taller than the other one, you will immediately give me an answer. You will immediately say, well, that one's taller than the other one. And if I ask you how much, you'll say, give me a percentage, and you'll likely say 10% or 5 or 20 or Salesforce Tower is quite a bit taller, so you might say 20% taller or even 25% taller. But once you've done that, if I give you the height of either building, you will immediately give me the height of the other building. Your brain can compute what that looks like just immediately. And that's the value of relative sizing. That's what we do with velocity. So once we've got a couple of sprints and we know how many points that a team can do, now we can walk down our backlog of relatively sized stories and identify where we're likely to be on September 15th. So we're always sizing stories relative to other stories, and we use abstract measures. Usually we use story points, and we use Fibonacci numbers, and we usually use the modified Fibonacci set when we're sizing 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 20, and 40. So the Fibonacci numbers, each number is the sum of the previous 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 3 plus 5 is 8. 5 plus 8 is 13. 8 plus 13 is not 20. But here's where we modify it and go for 20, 40, and 100, because 20, 40, and 100 represent huge, huger, and hugest. Or in Scrum terms, epic, epicer, and epicest. So we've got numbers for epic, epicer, and epicest of 20, 40, and 100. And we only apply those numbers after we relatively size everything. And our projections leverage velocity. So with velocity, we know how many of those points we can accomplish in a period of time. Then we can walk the period of time through a backlog and say, here's where we'll be on September 15th. So what does this look like? So first of all, we've got a couple of different techniques. I'm guessing a whole bunch of you have used planning poker, but a whole bunch of you probably haven't. So in planning poker, the way planning poker works, everybody on the team has got a set of these cards. There's our Fibonacci, our modified Fibonacci suite. Somebody reads a story, and on a given and everybody picks a card that represents how big that story is. And on a given signal, everybody holds up their card. And if everybody holds up an 8, we write an 8 onto the card. Now, what might happen is that we've got Sue and Bob in the room, and Sue says, well, I could write this in my sleep, and that's why I'm holding up a 3. And Bob says, well, I'm holding up a 13 because there's a ton of technical debt there. And when we plug that routine that Sue writes in, it's going to break. It's going to break in multiple places. And in fact, it's going to break in at least 3 places in other parts of our code that we can't even predict. And it's going to be really expensive. So like now we've had that conversation. Now we do this again. We vote again, and everybody holds up an 8, and now we write 8 onto that card, and we move on to the next one. So that's how planning poker works. The problem with planning poker is, one, for the first story, where do you start? There is no such thing as an 8 or a 5 or a 3. It's just an arbitrary number, and we're trying to plug an arbitrary number onto a story, and we don't know whether we don't know what the span of work is yet. Secondly, it can succumb to guessing and stepping out of relative. And so I see teams all the time, and it's like they're holding an envelope up to their forehead and guessing what's inside. And I see teams say, oh, I think that's a 5. Nah, I think that's an 8. It's like there's no such thing as a 5 or an 8. It's only, is this story like that other story that we called a 5, in which case we'll call this one a 5 too. Third, I've never seen planning, I personally, some of you may have, but I've personally never seen planning poker used against an entire backlog. It is not as long as waterfall estimating, but it's a lot longer than I want to do. It's a lot longer than half a day. And so there's another technique, which I learned 15 years ago when I first started learning about Scrum, called 2-pass release sizing. It's faster. It guarantees stories are sized relative to each other. And in fact, we don't put numbers on stories until the second time around. It's often called the Steve Bachman method. It's sometimes called the Scrum estimation game. And surprise, it's 2-pass release sizing. It's got 2 passes. The first one, we put all of the stories in order from the one that will take the least amount of time to the one that will take the most amount of time. And only then do we size them by putting modified Fibonacci numbers on. So this is what it looks like when we're co-located. Here's a team that started with 150 epics and stories. There's only 120 on the table because they discovered that 30 of them that were in their Jira backlog were redundant or done. So they got the cruft out of their Jira system. So there's only 120 on the table. And the upper left-hand corner, and this is sometimes called snaking because it snakes around the table. In the upper left-hand corner is the story that takes the least amount of time. And if you snake around, you come to the lower right-hand corner where the epic that will take the longest amount of time lies. And it's merely an exercise of starting with a deck of cards, and the first person puts a card on the table, they've got the easiest job, and hands the deck to the next person. And the next person says, well, I think, they read the story and they say, I think this was going to take less time or more time. And they look around to their teammates to see, do we have agreement around that? General agreement, not consensus, but consent. Can I put it down here, which says less? If we get at the point at which we've got agreement, I put it down and I hand the deck to the next person, and the third person reads the third story and says, I think this is going to take less time or more time, or it goes in between the two that are already on the table. And 2 hours later, we've got this something that's a snake. And then once we've got the snake, we start at the upper left-hand corner and write a 1 on that card and start looking for when the 2s start, and then where the 3s start and where the 5s start and where the 8s start, because everything up until that point is a 1, everything up until the next point is a 2, everything is a 3, a 5, an 8, a 13, a 20, a 40, and a 100. Make sense? We can do this using Miro or Mural. I've done it with both. Here's a team that had roughly the same number. They had a team that was in 10 different locations. They had a phone connection open, Zoom call connection open. They were actually using Skype for business, not Zoom. And they were using real-time board, which is now known as Miro. And instead of snaking, we do laddering when we're doing a digital version. So it's a set of 7 ladders in this case. It's still, the upper left-hand corner is still the smallest story, and they go across. And then when we have to drop down to the next row, that's the next larger story than the rightmost one on the previous row. So we're basically doing a set of ladders, and the one on the bottom right is still the largest epic. Here's another team that had about 50 or 60 in its backlog. You can see that they've pasted numbers onto these, and the upper left-hand corner, you can see some 1s going across. You can sort of basically see some 2s and some 3s and some 5s and some 8s as you walk down that obscured backlog, that obscured sizing table. So here again, they've laddered them. So here's a fourth example, this time using Mural, where we were using cards rather than stickies. Same deal, upper left-hand corner, lower right-hand corner ladders. So the exercise, we're now going to do an exercise using Miro, which I showed you a little while ago. And we're going to use all 12 fruit, and we're going to do all 12 fruit. So you're going to find when you get into Miro, you're going to bring up the frames. So remember, lower left-hand corner is a frames button that brings up your frame table of contents, and you're going to pick your group based on which group you're in when you go into the frame. So how much overhead is required, the combined time to prepare a serving and the time to clean up after eating it, and you're going to get 5 minutes to put them in order. Now, one of the things that I see teams do all the time is, oh, we've got 12 cards here, we'll 12 fruit basically. We'll just spread them out and we'll choose the one that's going to take the least amount of time. Don't do that. Don't do that because it doesn't work with 120. And what you want to practice is the technique that you're going to use with 120 cards with a whole backlog. And that means just taking the top card off the pile and putting it in the middle of the table and letting the next person take the next card and say, I think this is going to take less time or more time, put it on the table, let the third person read the fruit and decide is this going to take more time, less time, or in between, and you can spread them out. So with that, Jay, post, yep, there we go. So it's okay to skip a number, it's okay to use a number multiple times, and we're going to go into breakout rooms.
Hey, Ron, I have a quick question. This is Piyush.
Yep.
So let's say you get down to Lichty or whatever, and the guy the picks that doesn't know anything, it's ambiguous. Can you skip it, or what's the?
So have a conversation about it. Google it if you want. My experience is on the West Coast, you always have somebody in your group who knows what the fruit is. When I teach in the Midwest, I don't find that to be as true. Okay. So I'm going to open the room. Any other questions? So when you get there, find your sorting table. So you've got the URL to Miro there in the chat right now. So open that up. Each of you should have a picture.
Yeah, we can probably have a follow-up session once people digest this, Jay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I will stop the recording soon, and I'm going to publish the recording and send it out to everyone, and then we'll figure out how to pick up and go forward. I mean, this is like a perfect example of what can happen with remote distributed teams and the technology and the collaborative technology that we have to use. It's, you know, it is the deal. So, oh, wow, a whole bunch of other people showed up. So, man, so this seems like a Zoom problem.
So, no, people were still in their breakout rooms. Group 1, you guys all abandoned your breakout room.
Oh, and therefore, I assumed we could end everything. So
they were still working. So we're all coming back into the main room right now.
All right, never mind everyone else that I was talking to. Ignore what I said earlier.
Doesn't matter. It got recorded, Jay.
It has recorded my ignoring voice.
Okay, so a couple of comments on how was that?
Good.
That was nice.
It was great. It was good.
Yeah, it was better than the other, better than the other one.
Better than the other one?
Yes.
Notice Mango in this result is an 8. Mango in this result is a 3. Now, do we think that for this team, Mango's an 8? Yeah, I think it probably is. For this team, Mango's probably a 3. Now, to use a broad generalization, when I'm in the Midwest, it's always an 8.
Okay.
It turns out on the West Coast, a bunch of people have been raised either in Asian families or they've been raised next to Asian families, and they learned how to eat mangoes really easily. And nobody else knows how to do this. And it's just really interesting. Whether you've got that skill set or not on your team, it's going to matter whether it's a 3 or it's an 8.
Right.
Now, we've got varying numbers, so it's very common for your easiest one to be a blueberry or to be a banana. But it's common for, particularly in the Midwest, nobody knows what a durian is in the Midwest, and knows that you've in fact got to get your whole team upwind from the durian when you're opening.
Exactly.
And it's a huge effort. And the result of that is it probably is 100 relative to everything else for most teams. On the other hand, you may have an entire team that considers it a delicacy and is willing to hang out while you open it. So that's Jay is not one of those people. I get it. So team by team, what each team expresses is the amount of time it will take for your team to do this work. So the team needs to be sizing its own work, and then it's valid for that team as long as that team's stable. And the result of that is we get when we're doing Jira cards and they're printed out, or when we're doing Jira cards and they've been transferred via the Jira to Miro or Jira to Mural link, we end up with being able to sort our cards by smallest to largest. And whether we're using 2-pass release sizing or poker, it delivers shared project understanding. And one of the really amazing things is we walk out of the room after 3 hours, and all of those teams spend between 3 and 3.5 hours doing their boards. We walk out of the team after 3 or 3.5 hours, and everybody on the team understands what it is that product management has in mind for this project, for this product, for this release, for the next 2 OKRs, whatever that is. And so we've got shared project understanding that our product managers always wanted when they handed us 400 pages of requirements, and they never got it. Furthermore, it surfaces expertise and it surfaces experience. It surfaces the fact that Sue's done this before. It surfaces the fact that that Bob's got experience with where the technical debt lies. It engages the entire team in the work and in how we're going to do it. So I once was doing the fruit sizing. It was at this session, Jay, we had somebody at one of the tables who had a tool for every single fruit. a tool for doing every single one of those fruit, and that team's going to go way faster than every other team.
Yeah, it's called DevOps.
So the advantages of 2-pass release sizing over Poker is it's way faster. You can do a project in in just a few hours. And with Poker, I've never seen that done. It guarantees that stories are relative sized to each other. You're never asking the question how many points. You're only asking the question, where does it go in the snake or where does it go in the ladder? Is this story larger or smaller than this other one? And it provides a double check, because as some of you found this, and I saw at least one table rearranging where one of those fruit went as you went during the second pass, and said, you know, it doesn't belong here. And so the first pass is very fast. Second pass is also very fast, but you catch the errors, the relative errors that you made in the first pass through. So the bottom line is relative sizing is a boon. It's imprecise, but it's adequate to give our product owners an idea of not putting teleportation at the top of the backlog, and in fact having an idea of relative size of all of their stories. When combined with velocity, we can take velocity and get relative predictability for where September 15th is, where we'll be in the backlog, plus or minus 20%. It enables planning across the whole organization. It builds stakeholder confidence in us when we deliver to what we say we're going to do. And it's an astonishing team building and chartering exercise. So with that, questions? Got any questions? We will go to a brief retrospective in a minute. And Jay, if you can paste the first one of those into the chat.
Is that it?
So we're going to go to the first one of the retrospective items there.
Oh, you're talking about Menti?
Yeah, do the Menti and put the code in there, 191274.
So we're going to do a word cloud poll, and I'll stop sharing here. Start sharing the Mentimeter.
Menti 1274 can't be found.
I'm getting the same message.
191274 can't be found.
Oh, I hate it when it does that. Give me a second.
Don't have to take that big deep breath. It's okay.
6984, 68, 94, 83.
68.
94, 83.
68, 94, 83. Type it in.
Was that 64, 98, 83?
68, 94, 83.
Thank you.
Oh, cool. We got cloud.
Ron, if you could share the PDF copy of this slide, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, Jay's going to share the video.
I am. Hold on.
Jay's going to share the video recording after the session is over by figuring out where it goes, probably loading it up to YouTube.
Yeah, so Zoom takes, Zoom is very heavy traffic right now, so I'm probably not going to get the recording until tomorrow, their next day, and then I'll share it.
Thank you.
Can someone show the word cloud? I haven't seen the report out from that.
So it's in Zoom.
Oh.
The Zoom window, I'm sharing it in
Oh,
the
I'm
Zoom
sorry.
window.
There we are. Thank you. Yeah.
There you go. I know managing Windows is the challenge in the fact that we can't be in the same room with each other.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge. Now for the second retrospective, what I want to do is we're actually going to share a board, and can you paste that into chat?
Yeah, hold on.
Drunken method. That's interesting.
Give me a second here.
Yep. We're going to use a Miro board for a retrospective.
So there's the Miro bar there. There's the URL. Just copy that URL and put it in whatever browser you use, and it'll take you to it. Cool. I'm in it. Ron, I see a lot of people in here.
Adding stickies. So if you double click on the sticky, you can write on it.
I love the sound effects. So did everyone get their 4 L's done, Ron?
So you can add as many stickies in as many quadrants as you want.
Oh my God, do we have that much time?
So I think while people are writing, you're welcome to wrap up, Jay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Lacked alcohol. Sorry.
I'm so sad about that too.
Couldn't get DoorDash working fast enough. Some interesting conversations going on here. So thank you all.
Okay, yeah, I don't have anything else to add. I do want to appreciate all the tools you showed us and all the techniques. I mean, the tools alone is just a baseline, and then how you used them was really cool. It was hard for me to keep up and take notes at the same time, but I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on. My experience is that 3 to 3.5 hours that it takes for a team to work on a table is going to take them about 20% longer using a tool like Mural or Miro. And part of it is that even a team that's experienced with Miro and Mural, it's the affordance is just not as easy as what we learned when we were kids on conference room tables with 3x5 cards.
Right, right.
And I would add something you may or may not agree with. I think the young kids coming up, the digital experience and the remote distributed team experience is going to be more meaningful to them because
probably true.
They're more prepared for this. This is part of their ecosystem. This is part of their DNA, right? So even though it's challenging to us, I envision, which I could be wrong, that the next generations coming up, this will just be, normal for them to work.
And one of the guys that I work with said that we're all digital immigrants, and my grandkids are digital natives.
Well put.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Really interesting, Denny.
I didn't make it up. I just stole it.
Well, I'm going to drop off the call and go find myself a glass of wine. So nice meeting you all.
Nice meeting you. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, nice meeting you and staying back longer than what we had originally planned to be. So thank you again.
It was a fantastic session. Thanks, guys.
Oh, thank you. And then Juan, do you have any wisdom to share?
Software development is a team sport.
Love it.
Yep.
Let's go delight customers.
Thank you.
Also a team sport.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. There's going to be more of these to come. Anyone that wants to do something or lead something, let us know, because it's paying it forward. That's what we want to do. We want to make a difference in life and our communities and society. So let us know. So thank you for participating and being here. And with that, I'm going to close this. And I'm going to send the recording out as soon as I get it from Zoom, and you all can share it.
And we'll also share the PDF of the session we did so that you can keep it as your reference.
Perfect. All right.
All right, cool. Good night,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.